Well, hello everybody. I'm actually, let me have a looky here. I'm seeing somebody else's face. There we are. Now you've got me, folks. Hello everybody and welcome to yet another edition of the Inworld Review. It is the 15th of September of the year 2013. At least it is on planet Earth and in the organic sphere. Who knows what it is in the virtual world? It may still be. We may still be lingering here, centuries' time. This week is a sort of little bit of a special show. Came on us unexpectedly. If you're watching this program live, we're coming to you as part of our long-standing affair called the Metaverse Week in Review. And somewhere between last Sunday and this Sunday, we celebrated our 6th anniversary. That is to say, we've been broadcasting every Sunday for a good few hours every Sunday without a single break. We've never missed a Sunday for 6 years. So we're now in our 7th year. And the opening clip we showed on the channel, in fact, was a clip called Pipe Dream, which was one of the very first ever clips brought out by a company called Animusic. It had nothing to do with Second Life or Immersive Worlds as such. It was just a nice sort of graphical thing that we ran as our intro for many moons indeed. So we thought we'd reprise it for you today. And that's what you saw at the top of the show. And later on, you'll also be seeing another old machinima we used as an introduction, which is lots of funny avatars wandering around miming to People Are Strange by the Doors. I loved it at the time. When I dug it up, it looks rather primitive, given the machinima standards that have improved so much in what is now 6 years. But it's a sort of birthday show. We're doing nothing really special here, but we are acknowledging that it's our birthday, so we're showing you a couple of old clips there. Anyway, back to the news, or lack of it. I know Tara is going to mention some of the personal points coming up. So I'm really sort of going to leave it to her. We're still recovering, of course, from last week's Open Simulator Conference. And I don't think we'll be talking about that particularly today. We've got some other lovely topics lined up for you. But without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Tara for her sort of weekly roundup. So over to you, Tara.
Well, thank you, Mel. And welcome, everyone. And 6 years. Actually, it's probably worth noting that the first broadcasts were actually on Saturdays. And I don't remember exactly when we settled into the Sunday time slot, but we finally did. And actually, we used to start a couple hours earlier on Sundays. But every weekend for 6 years. I suspect this perhaps may give us the dubious distinction of being the longest continuously being such affair in the metaverse. I know there's some podcasts that have been going for quite a while, but I'm not sure if there's any of those that really have continued uninterrupted for 6 years or more. So anyway, good for us. So one of those sort of dubious distinctions, but there it is. Anyhow, well, there's been a major kerfluffle issue in the world of Second Life this week. But before I get to that, which I'm sure will be worth some bouncing around, a few other items. First off, an item that I missed last week. The Metaverse Journal has not officially, well, not completely folded up its tent and vanished into the night because the website is still there. But Lowell Cremone, who has been the perpetrator of that for about 6 years, has officially noted that it's probably done for, and he's just got too many other things that he has to do. It says it's not because his interest is flagged, but because I plain don't have enough time to devote to the site and work on his further studies involving virtual worlds. He says he still has 3 or 4 years of that study to go, and he'd rather draw a line in the sand rather than leaving things hanging. So that's certainly been one of a number of news sources I've gone to, and sorry to see him fold, but I certainly have noticed there haven't been any updates for a while. So yes, that site has been live since 2006, so that actually predates this show as one of the Second Life news sources. Let's see, a couple of technical items in the Eat Your Vegetables section. Post to Facebook is coming to Second Life as part of the Second Life share feature. And this is not something you have to do, but you will have the option to do so. It's apparently it's in the it's supposed to be in a very soon to come at least release candidate viewer. So watch for that. It will let you post directly from Second Life to Facebook, including pictures, as I understand it. Obviously, you'll have to enable it. You'll have to have a user ID on Facebook. The thing that I sort of wonder about this is what happens if your if your Second Life avatar name and your Facebook avatar name happen to match. Is this going to be one of the red flags that Facebook's going to come down and slap you silly and say, you can't have that. That's not a real name. You can't. This avatar, this Facebook account is toast. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see on that one how that works. But one could presumably hope that whatever name you post under on Facebook is only as your Facebook name. So if they happen to be the same, Facebook is none the wiser. Wait and see.
Uh-oh.
How long have I been talking without being heard?
I would say about 30
minutes.
to 45 seconds.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
You
let's
can start over again after the Facebook article if you'd like.
Okay.
That's when it
Okay.
quit.
I was just shifting to a new topic, which is the additions to the particle system in Second Life. The viewer for this is imminent. Apparently, it is actually available now as a release candidate. This is adding some new capabilities, specifically glow, ribbon effects, and blending options. You will have to probably download the release client to fiddle with these and see exactly what they do if you're a particle geek. And I'm sure those who are the wizards with particles will come out with some examples real soon if they haven't already. So that's that release candidate is actually out as of Friday. Let's see. Yes, and there's a wiki page on that if you wanna look at that. Okay, the item that has. Oh, wait a minute. No, there's one more. I've got one more before I get to the kerfluffle. Advertising on Second Life, on Linden Lab, and particularly Second Life web pages, including the marketplace. The lab has now posted official information about how you too can purchase banner ads on in Linden Lab spaces. There's an official FAQ for that, and it can be purchased on a campaign basis on a number of impressions and can be geographically targeted. So a campaign can be specifically targeted by language or by region. The gotcha on this is the upfront bucks, and these are real bucks, U.S. dollars, that advertisers have to pony up to start a campaign is $1,000 U.S. That's not Linden's, that's U.S. dollars. In the scheme of advertising, that's not a whole lot of money for conventional businesses, but for little guys, it may not be peanuts. But it's very much in sync with current impression rates for such things as Google's. The impression rate the costs range from $1.50 to $4 per 1,000 impressions, which is not out of line with the web standards as far as impression rates are concerned. And they're running both horizontal and vertical right side ads, so people have the choice, and there's a bunch of information. So if you happen to be someone who is interested in that sort of thing, you'll find information in the Second Life wiki. Let's see. Okay, so the item that's caused all the stir this week was the discovery by CGI. Boy, now the company name's gotten away from me. There's a website, it starts maybe CG Impressions, that is a resource for textures, and they decided that after careful reading of the recent changes in the Linden Lab terms of service for Second Life, slammed the door on any further use of their textures in Second Life. They've shut down their license for that, and the basis of this is a change in language. In the old version, all the stuff about the granting a license for use in Second Life in the terms of service ended with a little statement about how, let's see, you here automatically grant Linden Lab a non-exclusive worldwide royalty-free sub-licensable and transferable license to use, reproduce, distribute, etc., for the purposes of providing and promoting the service. In the new language, it adds the phrases to sell, resell, sub-license through multiple levels, and otherwise exploit in any manner whatsoever for any purpose whatsoever in all formats, etc. And this is what has caused quite the stir. Now, in the wake of the original blog postings about this, there was an official news statement from Linden Lab, or in response, saying, well, we really didn't mean that. But the trouble with we really didn't mean that message delivered in that fashion is it's about as good as the contract it's printed in. And that's I think, to me, the real takeaway from the discussion that's taking place thus far is people are saying, trust us. And anyone who's been around Linden Second Life for a while does it, in a word. So this is not an issue that the general consensus is they really ought to toss us back at their attorneys and say, reword this, change it, because as it presently reads, it's very much in their favor and not in the end user's favor as far as what it appears you have given Linden Lab as far as permissions to use your content, your original creations. Hamlet Au, who published actually the best articles I would recommend reading are those by NRPay. Our friend Will Burns has done an excellent blog post on this, and Hamlet Au has also talked about it and publicized it. And Hamlet was taken to task, and I was sort of amused by this one. Hamlet, your comment, quote, if you are really worried, copyright your content before putting it in Second Life, unquote. That's what Hamlet said. And the commenter said that comment is pretty misleading. Your content is protected by copyright the moment it is fixed in a tangible medium of expression. There's a difference in registering the content, which is a different thing, but that registering your copyright has absolutely no impact on this issue, which is about licensing your content. And that's, I thought, was a really good distinction to call Hamlet to task about. Anyhow, that's as I say, that's the big discussion this week, and it's really clear, I think, from the discussion that the consensus is that Linden Lab can issue their little press statements all they want, but it's what's in the terms of service is what's legally binding, and whether or not a judge, and I'm speaking U.S. law here, would come back and say in response to what the official statement in response to this issue was from the lab that that overrode the terms of service statement. Well, anytime you start talking about taking anything to court, the person who wins is the person with the most money. And obviously, an individual creator is not, with very few exceptions, does not have the financial clout that a corporation has. Anyway, on that, I'm going to leave it for now and toss it back to Mal. And we have lots of good guests here, including Saffia is with us today. So back to you, Mal, for whoever's next. And I hope Mal remembers to unmute himself. Oh, and Mal is not here. Mal is not here. Mal is not on the call. Is that the story?
Maybe
Yes, we're having
directly to me.
Oh yes, I see he's not. So Saffia,
Yeah.
welcome.
Hello, Taro. Thank you for that.
I know you've been buried deeply in a whole lot of new productions. So I know you have things to talk about. So welcome and have at it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've not been around for a few weeks because I've been doing the Black and Mirror season 2, which we were filming for 6 hours last night, our regular Black and Mirror session, and we got some great stuff done last night. Pet was filming, among others. It was pretty exciting, wasn't it, Pet?
It was great. It's just poetry in motion this season. It's amazing. I'm serious. It's really just so organized and more efficient, and it's great. You get to make a lot of progress. It's good. Just a few, 1 or 2 little hang-ups. We did like 8 takes on something simple and got through the most complicated things in just 2 or 3 takes. It was awesome.
Yeah. It's always the way, though, isn't it? Yeah. We've now got things automated to some extent so that we can do more complex things, and I think that's really going to show when people see the episode. And hopefully, all being well, it should be hitting the screens in about a month's time, the first episode. Which is scary.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I couldn't produce a gasp at that point.
That soon. Ooh. Time flies.
Okay, then.
Just over a month, I think.
All right.
Okay, so, but I've got some other stuff happening first, which I'd like to share about you. First of all, new issue of Print Perfect will be going out very shortly, a couple of hours' time. And that we're focusing on non-profits in that we've got stuff coming out the back end of the Relay for Life. I also had a chance to sit down and talk to Stingray Raymaker, who's the American Cancer Society person, and we had a talk not just about Relay as such, but more about organising charity events in Second Life. And why Relay for Life, why he thinks Relay for Life has succeeded so hugely, where so many others have kind of drifted and fallen away. But we're looking at issues like how you organise the best ways of organising events on the grid. We've looked at things like the spontaneous events that happen, like the response to the Japanese tsunami that people rallied around, and looking at things like the campaigns for individuals, like the one for the Donna Flora one, which sadly Donna Flora herself has passed away, which is a great shame. But there's been others which have had happier outcomes where people have supported, and we talk about that. We look at some of the non-profits you can visit. We talked to Winter Nightfire about her amazing build at Relay for Life, how she really her first venture into doing something like that, and it was just fantastic, the Survivor and Caregivers Camp. So there's lots in the issue, and we're also launching something that Dousa here is also keen on, I think, and it's going to be the Macmillan Coffee Morning. I don't know how many of you here have heard of this. I know Dousa has.
I think that may be a UK based and isn't in the US, but do tell us more about that.
Yeah, it is a UK charity. It's one of the biggest. There are two really big cancer charities in the UK. There's Cancer Research UK and Macmillan fund Macmillan nurses, and they do a lot of the support work and helping people who've got who've been diagnosed with cancer. Both survivors and caregivers are given a lot of support in different ways by Macmillan. And this event is the biggest coffee morning in the world, and it happens every year. It's happened on the Second Life grid before, but not for several years. The idea is, in real life, that you hold a coffee morning either at home or at work, and people bake cakes and bring them along and everyone shares, and you buy slices of cake and you donate money to Macmillan. Last year, through the coffee morning, which is one of their big fundraisers of the year, they raised £15 million.
Wow.
Which must be something like about $10 million. Yeah, through people.
If we Saffia, we need to pause for about 30 seconds to change stream audio streams here. So if you can pause for a sec, and we'll be right back with audio. Okay, I think we're back.
This is pretty unusual. People are dropping in and out of the call, like flighty things. I'm bringing Mal back. Boy, Malburns is having a problem.
Okay, Mal's going to go ahead and reboot. So, go ahead, Saffia. Sorry for the interruption. And sorry, viewers. He seemed to be having some technical difficulties with Skype today.
Okay. So where was I? I was talking about the coffee morning. Yeah, and
right.
It's raised about $10 million last year just from the one coffee morning, which is pretty cool. And it's the biggest coffee morning in the world. So I thought it would be fun for Prim Perfect to get involved. And what we're doing, we're having a coffee morning at Prim Perfect headquarters, except it will actually be quite late because it'll be US morning more than UK morning to get more people to come along. But what we're going to do is, obviously, when you're selling virtual cake could be a bit disappointing. You know, you're getting when you sell your virtual cake, you're just getting a prim. So what we're asking people to do is to give us their favourite their favourite cake recipes. And we're going to put the cake recipes into cakes, or people can bake their own Second Life cakes and put a recipe into it and bring them along. And when people buy slices of those cakes, the money will go to the money will go to Macmillan. And you will get not just a slice of virtual cake. You'll also get a recipe that you can take into the real world and bake in the real world. So people will put their favourite recipes in. I'll probably put my chocolate fridge tray cake and my coffee and my coffee gatto, things like that, so people can make nice cakes the other side.
Yum.
Great fun. Yum. I'm drooling
So
just thinking about it.
if you have cake recipes, either give us a cake or give us the recipe, and we will make a cake to put it in, and then we will be selling them. And we won't sell them for very much. I mean, it'll be something like about 50 lindens. People can donate more if they want to, but just, get a little cake and a little recipe.
That sounds awesome.
Yes.
Yes. And we will it'll go for about 5 hours, and we'll have DJs playing at the Prim Perfect headquarters. So I think it's going to be fun, and I think there's going to be good food. Even if you don't eat in Second Life.
And God forbid you should have a spare moment.
God forbid I should have a spare moment when I'm not doing anything. Yeah. But I think Dousa is doing something too for the Macmillan Coffee Morning over at West TV.
Yeah, we've been running the Jerry Blash project, which is a film made by Jerry Blash. It's a clinical psychologist and a friend of mine who's diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she wanted to make a film about death and dying. Basically, we talked about it before with Tara, I think, a few weeks ago on this show. Right, and now there is a donation box on Pearl Island, and Jerry wanted any monies raised basically to go to Macmillan Nurses. So it was a very natural move for us to step into the coffee morning. Now, I'm a girl with a microwave. I'm a single woman with a microwave, an empty fridge with a bar of chocolate in it, and that's about it. So if people want to bring cakes, that's very nice. We do a great line in virtual cakes, and we will be charging for them to raise money, but we'll also be, basically we're going to be there all weekend. So what's happening is we're starting earlier than Saffia, because we are going to kick into the GMT morning. Not GNT, not gin and tonic. Actually, we could do a gin and tonic morning.
I think that could go down very well.
Oh yeah,
I think so too. So anybody wants to come, we do have G&Ts there. So feel free to have a little lady fall over every now and again. Ladylike fall, stagger around, and we've got the spa there and everything. So we want to hang out and be massaged and listen to some music, and we're going to go all weekend because we had events on that weekend anyway, so we're going to carry on and keep it in place on Pearl Island. And Saffia and I were talking earlier, so when one finishes you come over to another one and spend more.
Absolutely.
Well, Dousa, I have just the recipe for you.
Microwave.
Yes, there are a number of recipes around that are specifically they're called mug cakes, and they're microwave, and they're specifically engineered to do in microwaves, and they involve cake mix and a few minor other ingredients that you dump into a mug and stick it in your microwave, and they work rather well.
My God. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
so it doesn't even really involve washing up too much either.
Well, just the mug, and the mug doesn't take much washing, especially if you remember to spray a little of spray non-stick like Pam or whatever you have over on your side of the pond to the inside of the cup before you put the ingredients in. But yeah,
I ask you to donate that recipe to us.
Yes,
so all those sad singles can come over to Pearl Island, and
yeah, if you give us that recipe, that I'm sure will go down well at the event. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I'll try it out.
I know I have one for a lemon mug cake, and I think I have a chocolate one as well. Although I think it was just the lemon one that I actually tried, and it was decent. It was decent. It wasn't quite up to a regular oven from scratch cake, but hey, if an oven isn't an option, hey, this will work very nicely for that periodic.
I've got an oven, but I like to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Therefore, never using it.
We had, of course, in the UK. I mean, reinforcing the Macmillan Coffee Morning is the fact that in the UK, the hottest show on television, I would say, is the Great British Bake Off.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's been over to the States, hasn't it? But
Yeah.
didn't he fall into ill repute in the States? Anyway, we probably should gloss over that. We cannot send our men abroad. They just behave badly.
God.
We're terribly sorry, America. If we've offended
All
you.
over here.
But please don't send them back, because we don't really
Well, it's certainly possible that such a show has existed, and if it on this side of the pond, and if it has, since I don't watch regular TV at all, it would be lost on me. I know they're cooking shows, and I know that there's been some kind of a show that's been particularly a guy thing, kind of a macho guy thing that ran at some point, because I've run across a few recipes and stuff that have apparently come
America's
out of that.
Next Top Model.
Yeah.
The Bake Off is huge here, and we film Designing Worlds on a Tuesday, and I'm always running into Second Life at the very last minute, because I just have to find out who has won that week's episode of Bake Off. There's no way that I can go into Second Life and start filming Designing Worlds until we've seen the Bake Off, which if you've got a minute, I can tell you about this week's Designing Worlds show too.
Oh yes, go for it.
Because we've got something quite interesting this week. I don't know if you know the designer Painter Merriman, who is a house designer. Very, very good, very detailed, beautiful house styles. And he's been doing something rather interesting. These are houses not for sale. They're complete homages. There was a project on the west coast of America in the 1940s until the 1960s called the case study houses. I don't know if any of you have heard of them. They were made from local materials. They were in some ways prefabricated, but they certainly had to use locally available materials. And the idea was that they would create houses that would be beautiful and well designed, and yet suitable for people returning home, because after the Second World War, because there was quite a housing shortage then. And they got leading architects and up and coming architects to actually design these houses, and they were called the case study houses. I think something like about 23 of these were made in the end. And what Painter has done is he's recreated a couple of the most famous ones that actually exist in Pacific Palisades. And they were built in the 1950s. And we went over to take a look at them and explore them and talk to him about the architecture behind them. And it's a really interesting program. We're looking at this sort of phase of American architecture. And if you're into Mad Men and that kind of style, American style, you will just adore this show, because when you go in the houses, they just look like sets for Mad Men. They're really gorgeous.
Sounds amazing.
They're not for sale, but they're really interesting to see.
I love those colours and the designs from them, because it always reminds me of Technicolor, and the sort of absolute brilliance of film sets. I always want to live in a film set, particularly the American film sets, which I think
yes,
they kind of assume everybody's got limitless money to spend on their furniture, really.
Well, at the same period, some of the British films that were coming out were things like A Kind of Loving and Saturday Night and Sunday Morning. No one really wants to live in a 2 up, 2 down back street in 1960s Sheffield.
Absolutely.
Aww.
With Albert Finney.
Or Tom Courtenay, or both.
Yeah. So Mal, I believe, is having a problem, is he not?
Yes,
he back?
is. No, he's working on it. He's working on it.
Tara, I can't give you the measurements, but the mug cakes you were talking about. I was looking around here to see what the measurements were. Okay, but here's the simplest thing in the whole world. Okay, almost if it isn't. Okay, you can take any cake mix, and one cake mix that's an angel food cake mix. Mix the two. Has to be angel food and any other flavor, right? And I just don't remember the percentage. You'll just have to mess around with the amount of water and the amount of mix, but it's like 3 tablespoons, I think, of water for a quarter cup of mix, about that. Just stir it up and throw it in the microwave for about a minute, and you've got cake.
Yeah, I know they're ridiculously simple, and the only thing that that I did when I tried it was it's easier to mix up an entire cake mix and then divide it into equal quantities.
See, we've got a bag that keeps the mixes together, and it's just as you want a cake, you can make it whatever size you want too, because once you see what the thickness is of the regular cake, then you can make whatever size you want. Make a little bowl size, make a whatever,
whatever size,
all the way up to a whole cake, I guess, because that's how much is in there,
Yeah, I'd really be hesitant to try to do a whole cake in a microwave unless you had a microwave that was notable for being really even, and most aren't.
Right.
You end up with high spots and valleys.
Yeah.
Mountain cake. I love mountain cake.
Mountain cake, yeah.
What is mountain cake?
It's an uneven batch of batter that gives you peaks and valleys. Or else you've got so much
it could
chunky
be Death
stuff.
Valley cake.
Yeah,
Death Valley
cake. Yeah.
Grand Canyon cake.
Right. Rocky cake.
Rocky cake. Cascades cake.
Yeah. It's
My part
very
of
Poor
or
Mal.
Olympics cake,
oriented.
Poor Mal, when he comes back, is going to think he stumbled onto the set of a cooking program.
I know, right?
Well, I heard his voice in there briefly. It sounded like he was testing, and then he must have muted himself again or something.
And to look at the call, there he
here he is.
All right, he's
I see him.
in. He's in. All right, now he's in again.
Burns.
See if this time it works.
Okay.
See if it sticks.
I also see we have suggestions from the web audience that there ought to be one for recipes made with beer.
Ooh, yeah.
Why stop there?
Actually,
Why stop there?
I have a beer bread that's to die for.
Actually, someone is suggesting a recipe with chocolate and raspberries to fab taste. Now, I have a recipe that involves chocolate and cherries and no cooking at all. I was thinking I might give that one out.
Yes. You could start with us.
It's really simple. You take the chocolate in Dousa's fridge.
Writing it down. Okay.
And you melt it. You take a packet of biscuits. You would call them cookies, I guess.
Okay.
Just very plain cookies, and you crush them with a rolling pin. You take some nice big fat glacé cherries, the kind you put in cake.
Right.
And then you mix the biscuits and the cherries in the chocolate. You put it into a tray when it's quite stiff, and you kind of press it down with your fingers so it's flat. You put it into a tray. You put it into the fridge and let it cool, and the chocolate will set. And then you just cut it into squares and eat it. It's that simple. That's what I'm going to put in one of our cakes, I think. Yeah.
I don't think I get as far as cutting it into squares. I think
I wouldn't know whether to eat the shortbread bread cookies. Welcome back.
I'm sorry, Mal, but you've come to the wrong program.
Yeah, we changed the format while you were gone.
We started a baking show.
I must say, I had been wondering, Helbert is here, and I tried on another computer, on another account and everything, and just finally I get back in here. So, yes, I'm all astray, aren't I? I have no idea what happened there. Obviously,
we were talking about you. That's what we were doing.
Obviously, Tara finished. Obviously, Tara finished her thing. Right. So, Tara finished her thing. This show's gone to pot, hasn't it?
No,
No,
and,
cakes.
and you've engaged in conversations. So have we introduced all the guests?
Yes. Oh no, we
Well,
haven't
sort of.
introduced the guests really. Saffia has been. We've all been chatting, but we haven't had the official introduction.
Yes,
I see.
I
We've been
introduced
chatting about
Saffia.
what brought it up was the Macmillan coffee morning, which we talked about.
Ah, very good. Yeah, so everybody has seen these wonderful signs we've got at the side of the stage here, and you've spoken about that already. I take it. Basically,
In depth.
In depth. Now I'm hungry for cake. I'm telling you right now.
Oh dear. Okay. All in aid of Macmillan nurses and cancer care. So very good there.
Nice.
Right. I suppose I need to be caught up on them, don't I? Last I heard, Saffia was talking about Facebook. Tara was talking about Facebook connections with Second Life, which shows how long ago it is since I
Yeah.
Since you had any audio.
You missed all the good
it
stuff.
reminded me. I saw a funny cartoon on the web this morning of it's a clinic somewhere, and there's a couple with a nurse looking at the picture of their baby, I guess, on the ultrasound scanner. And instead of a print button, there was a share on Facebook, Twitter, which is kind of my thoughts on Second Life and Facebook. I mean, I actually use Facebook. I've got real world friends there who keep coming back to me saying, "You're still playing that bloody game," and I don't know. I do not connect Second Life to Facebook in any way. I use it for other diverse purposes. I use Twitter for Second Life. And,
I tried
Google
so
Plus.
hard to cancel my Facebook page, but it's impossible. I don't think you can get rid of it if you want to.
Yeah. Oh, you
It's
could.
like,
You
it's
could just post some sort of naked thing on
Oh,
there,
and they'll take it off.
they will. They will ground you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Something rude and disgusting will probably do it.
Well,
Although
it's-
certain kinds of rude and
no.
disgusting seem to
Yeah.
be just fine with
Yes.
the powers that be at Facebook.
It's the
will
oddest
say-
thing.
yeah.
It's the oddest thing. They will.
I
They
think
will
a tampon
basically
would do
ground
it.
you.
we
They'll
have to say
basically ground you.
We have to say goodbye to Saffia.
We do. It was nice to
Yeah.
Oh, right,
hear your
it's that-
voice again, Saffia.
It was nice to hear you too.
Yes.
And
Great to see
And
you.
I-
sorry that I have to run today, but I've got some work on the Black and Mirror to do.
Well, you've left us all thinking about where we're going to get our next piece of cake. I
I
can
know.
guarantee you that.
Do you hear my microwave running right now?
Really.
Okay.
Now that Mal's back, I can actually get to the kitchen.
Okay. Bye,
Take care.
guys. See you
Bye.
Okay, bye, Saffia, and we'll hopefully see you in a week or two at least. Good luck with the Blackened Mirror and the that wonderful new. Did you talk about that new resin contraption, by the way? Resin?
Resin.
No, I'll
No.
talk about that when the show comes out, I think. Because at the moment I'm
Okay,
just talking
right.
about it in abstract, but when the show comes out I'll be able to explain it better with clips.
Awesome.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, well, thanks for being here, Saffia. I'll just tell people Resin actually is something I picked up, and in fact I think it was Petlove here who got me on it. We both picked it up in World a couple of months ago. And it's a lovely contraption. I've got one on the beach where you can actually literally direct a movie, lay down paths and animations, and construct a scene, and then the avatars or actors just perform according to your scripts. And mind you, I think you need to be something of an expert in scripting and stuff like that to actually figure out how to use this. And I read the
Well, you
instructions, and
don't.
it sounds phenomenal.
You
Oh,
don't.
okay,
It's
Pet,
not
do
too
tell.
complicated. Yeah, well, it's just it's something to where you can sort of plan ahead for some of the more complicated scenes where the avatars have to go around corners and run to a chair and everybody get in the same place at the same time. That's really hard to do when you're filming. You can spend a lot of time getting just the right combination of circumstances. So with this program, you can help make that happen more easily. And like Saffia said,
Yeah.
I guess she wants to go into it in detail after the show has been shot fully. So, but it's a really, really handy thing, and it's not impossible to use. It seems very complex, but once you sort of get the hang of it, it's a fabulous system. It really is, and we do have an expert. And he's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
I've actually rezzed it on in my beach house, as it were, which is Dousa here is my landlady at the beach house, and I visited there, ready to actually experiment with it, and not really got very far. But I definitely want to, because it seems like you can do a lot of automation for machinima movement and stuff. So great stuff. So are you familiar with this, Kurt?
I think that some of the dance troupes are using those when they're changing sets.
Good. Well, yeah.
I think so. I don't think all of them by any means, because I know they use movers, but I think that some of them are going to start looking into that, because I've heard a little bit of talk about that. So it's kind of cool.
Mm.
Really, it would make it so much easier for them if they could just plunk it down and that be that. That would be awesome.
It's nice to be to have the options of some of it is resined, and some of it, a lot of it, most of it really is still quite live. The actors, I don't think they'd really feel like actors if the whole thing was totally programmed.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, I do.
And so this gives us the opportunity to do both, and actually rescene is only appropriate for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when you totally don't need it and you don't want to use it, but like I said, for those hard ones. We've done things this time around in an hour that we actually spent 2 or 3 days getting perfectly. Well, maybe not 2 days. Like hours and hours and hours. It was hard. It was, but we stuck with it, and we've earned our reward. Now we have reseen.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's a great tool. Highly recommend it.
Great opening up new opportunities, I think. So yeah, definitely going to take time off to try and figure that out. Whether I succeed or not is an absolutely different matter.
Right.
So we've talked about the coffee mornings and things. Have we? I presume Tara mentioned this in her intro, but have we had any talk yet about the new terms of service business?
Mm-hmm.
I went on at length about it, but we haven't really kicked it around. So,
right. Well, for those people who, unfortunately, I must let on, by the way, while I'm here. The reason Will Burns hasn't been with us for a couple of weeks is a hardware problem that is being sorted, and I gather he's on a laptop that can't adequately run Second Life and Skype at the same time. So he's had so many things to talk about, but amongst other things, he did an extended blog this week, very, very, very critical of Linden Lab and their new "we want to own all your property" policy. Basically, Second Life users had to sign a new terms of service agreement when they logged in earlier this week. Which is supposed to be a sort of simplified thing that applies to all Linden Lab products, as opposed to just a Second Life software, which is dubious in itself. But they effectively claim that apart from going on about your world, your creation, your copyright, they effectively claimed, but it's not really, because once you've done it, we own it all. And
I don't
oddly
think that
enough,
they can do that. I think that'll be
no, it's not ownership.
Yeah.
Now it's licensing. It's not the ownership.
Yeah.
It's not a claim of ownership. It's a claim. It's the new wording is.
I think it's ability. They have the ability to sell it anywhere they want to in the known
and resell
world,
and a bunch of other things that are a significant expansion over what was in the prior one.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned earlier, that in response to a direct inquiry from NRPA,
they've done that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, issued a statement saying, "Well, we really didn't mean that," but the discussion that has taken place in the blog comments on Hamlet's site and Inara's site have been clearly highly skeptical about this. And as I commented, that such follow-up statements are about as good as the paper they're printed on, because they're not part of the actual contract language, which is the terms of service. So,
well, you got to really think about this, though. Okay, so technically, we're really not signing anything. Not literally, we're really not signing anything. To hold anybody to a contract by the click of a mouse, I think is probably a big stretch anyway. Really.
I don't know. You do see that sometimes, though. It's like by clicking this, you agree. They say.
Right, right.
And I think that's been tested.
But what I was going to go...
What concerns me more than anything else is that they see fit to put it in the first place.
Yeah, I know.
Which to me indicates an attitude.
A greedy,
Yes,
grabbing
it's an
attitude.
attitude.
Yeah.
Yes.
At
Well,
best, it's an attitude.
mhm.
Tut, tut.
And I think it's possibly an admission that actually, without the content creators in Second Life, they've got a lot of square green sims flattened out, and that's it. Unless they've actually paid for it. I do have to say, on behalf of Metaverse Television, if they start selling our footage to people, we will expect money.
Oh.
We would expect money. We will be invoicing.
Well,
them
you know, I had this
for the
thought.
equipment, the time, the machinima, the
Right.
details,
Right.
blah de blah de blah. And as they themselves have been interviewed, and I mean, you will understand this, particularly Tara and Mal. For 6 years, Metaverse Television has been effectively giving Second Life free advertising all over the net.
Good point.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Free advertising, free marketing, all over the net.
Mm-hmm.
For years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I had a message from a creators group that I belong to this week, and they were taking offense to the whole thing that we're talking about right now, the new toss. And they were one of the people in this creators group is a lawyer, and he basically drew up a petition for it about getting it off of there, which you want to. On the one side, you would really like to sign your name to it, but I'm operating under caution because, quite honestly, if they pulled my rug out from under me in Second Life, I don't know what I would do with myself anymore. Honestly, this is my outlet.
You would go to
Well,
another grid. That's
I guess I would,
Yep.
but I don't want to start from scratch.
Of course not.
So I didn't
I
sign
completely
it.
understand that, but that's not what they're banking on.
Yeah.
But what doesn't kill you?
I don't think they're banking
makes
on
you
that.
stronger. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, but you know what? At this point, it might actually.
Yeah. Right. I hear that.
It might
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah.
I've spent.
I think it's very interesting. I mean, let's talk about the attitude that made them do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, okay, now
But let's talk about the attitude that.
well, okay, but then we have to ask the question of, we are second guessing what the attitude is.
Well, they're second guessing whether or not we're going to put up with it. So.
Well, it's obviously about money. It's obviously about money. Okay, so why not this? Why not, when we sell something in World, why not, you know how when you get a vendor for free, for instance, from a vendor company, and they charge you a percentage on what you sell rather than charge you for the vendors. Okay, well,
tax.
why not, if you're really grubbing for money, which is what it is, okay, then why not just put a tiny percentage on every vendor in SL? I'm not talking like big percentage. I'm talking, like if you do that through a vending company on here, then they charge you 5% of sales. It's 5 lindens on every 100. Who cares? Okay, so let's just even tack another 5 on for Linden Labs. Who would care? 10 cents on every 100. Who would care? I mean, that might be a whole lot better.
It's better than having to start over again.
That's what my point. Rather than go through the whole thing with the properties.
It seems to me,
I think they should be paying us.
There's also a unique economy here in World, and Linden's actually cream off percentages in everything that goes on in Second Life already. Just because I've created a nice square prim on the floor, which is about the limit, and I sell it to somebody, Linden's actually do take a commission on that sale. Not if you sell it to me for 100 lindens and I pay you 100 lindens, you get 100 lindens.
Yeah.
But then try to take that money out to real life.
But
it's only if you want to take that 100 lindens out of Second Life that you end up paying a commission.
Okay, but here's the cool part though. I mean, you can make money here though. I mean, it's how many video games can you convert what you make in what amounts to game tokens into real cash?
But this is it. This is a virtual world. It's a user-created, it's a collaborative, creative, immersive online space. It is not a game. You can find games in here for sure.
Right.
But it's not a game. It is actually a working environment, an entertainment environment, a creative environment. And it does have its own economy there, but that economy is controlled by Linden Labs. And as Tara points out, it is ultimately when you try and draw money out that they make more commissions. But they do, to a certain extent, control the currency. And the idea, I was talking to Dousa about this before we came on air, and the idea that I would open up Photoshop and do a painting, and then have to admit that because I did it in Photoshop, then some licensing rights have to go back to Adobe,
right,
would be a total nonsense.
Yes,
I mean, we're in a platform where we're not playing a game and we're not running to a Linden Lab script. We are actually using it to create, collaborate, and whatever. And we are using the tools they provide, which is fair enough, to actually paint or create or architect whatever we want to do. But once we've used those tools, the result of what we create with those tools should be ours. And if you're if you do create everything wholly by yourself, then it is possible to put it all together and get it out of Second Life. But it's there are lots of contradictions in what goes on here. The CEO of Linden Labs these days comes from a gaming background. The legal teams at Linden Lab don't really seem to know what kind of product they're dealing with. I think they treat it as game too, so they make up all these contracts that clearly have not been written by anybody who's engaged in Second Life and understands the subtleties of an interactive world as opposed to a game. And I think it's just audacious that they just throw these things upon you without warning, and they rely on the fact that people don't want to be locked out of Second Life to agree to it, whether they probably don't bother read it. They just agree to it because without it they can't get into Second Life. And it's it doesn't resonate with me that the fact that one of the excuses they had for this was that they wanted a terms of service that would apply to all Linden products. But quite frankly, a piece of software like Patterns on the iPad or Versus or the other contraptions they're coming up with now are not Second Life. Maybe they'll be successful products in their own right, but they're separate pieces of software. They do separate things. And the terms of service for something like Versus have nothing in common, really, for lots of the subtleties of the terms of service of Second Life. So why I should be signing a license which is the terms of service for Linden Lab products as opposed to just Second Life, which is the one I use, seems to be very bizarre indeed. It doesn't show very perceptive thinking.
No, I think it's going to have to change because though like you said, although this was all initially created by Linden, its expansion has gone only as far as an in-world presence and everything you see and everything you do totally by the users. So I think if you're going to penalize those same users, that just doesn't seem exactly right.
And it occurs to me this will never happen, of course. But if Second Life users got so upset they went on strike, they deleted everything from their inventories and they logged out and didn't come back in, there wouldn't be a Second Life, would there?
That's true. That is true.
Everything would vanish. And
oh my God, I would die though.
Well, except there's a gotcha in there, Mal, and that's one of the things that was in the comment discussions on this whole issue was noting that you as an individual avatar could go in, completely delete your avatar, delete your account, etc. But if you have stuff you've created in World that has gone to other people, they still have those objects. Those objects are not deleted from Second Life.
Well, apparently, though, that you are able to request that your things be deleted.
Yeah, but you would have to go and request that they.
It would be insane. I would have. Oh my God, it would be insane for me.
I'm not suggesting it should happen.
I think people have already done that. Actually, I've noticed.
I don't think it could happen, but it's the principle. Is that everything here we created collectively, and if we vanish, it's just not here anymore. Full stop. And you know, they have systems for rollback and things like that. That means there's a sort of backup going on, but I'm sure they're not backing up the entire asset servers. It would be doubling the size of their servers. So
Who knows?
Yeah,
Well,
it's a funny
actually,
thing.
I would expect that there is some backup. There is at least short-term backup on asset servers. There would have to be, because if they had their primary asset servers, any one of them go down for current users, you know, they've got to be able to rebuild those. So there has to be backup.
I agree.
The question becomes one of stuff that was created 8 years ago. Is it still in the asset servers? And I seem to recall here a few years ago that they adopted a policy that they keep track of how often various things, you know, are being actually called up from asset servers. And when something has gone completely dormant and hasn't had a lick of activity for some period of time, then they will delete it from the asset servers.
Okay.
So
let's. Yeah, I think so. Let's move on. I think I would get some comments in chat. Lapiskin was asking how this affected Machinima, for example, and he's saying if they close your account, they'll claim the assets are deleted as well. Anyway, at least somebody in the channel says this is boring compared with last week's talk. So obviously people who aren't actually in Second Life won't really fully understand what we're on about here. But basically, it's just about ownership of things we create using this platform. But we'll come back to us in a day. Now, before I go over to Secret, can I go back to Dousa? I think you had a few other things you wanted to bring up on the show today, didn't you? You were going to rant for me.
Dumping me in it, right? This is because, and I am aerated, as we would say here, right? I am aerated because breedables. Breedables are not something that I would undertake to make or develop or code or anything else. Right? Because it's beyond my ken, frankly. However, I've seen people put their heart and their soul and their time and their effort into these. And there are delays. And the other day I was party to, I don't know what it was. It was like a witch hunt on one particular set of breedables that were just launching, where they were screaming at the creator that he was scamming them. And I said to Mal, I think really people need to understand what scam means. I mean, they're actually talking and they're writing it down. Perhaps Linden Labs needs to look at this. People are writing down libelous language, right, about people defrauding and scamming and running off with their goods. Now, this particular content creator had been developing these for some time, right? He had issued shoulder pets, he'd built this massive hunt environment, he'd issued a closed beta, he'd issued an open beta. Yeah, it was delayed because they were doing all those trials and problems were coming up which they were trying to solve, right? And he didn't want to release on the open market before they had cleared up a lot of these problems. Now, I think people are much more used to the sort of Scrum environment where people throw something tatty onto the market and then clean it up as they go along and the screams eventually subside.
I love that word, tatty. I love it. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So I saw him subjected to this and the amount of stress, right? And I'm not saying anybody, you know, of course there are ways of doing things better, there always are. But we are in Second Life, and most of the companies in Second Life are 1 or 2 people or maybe 3 people on a team. And suffice to say, have you ever worked on a team, members of Second Life? You know, how many of you have actually worked on a team? And I think most of the people around this particular camera have done. And it can be intensely infuriating, right? Because you don't have power. You're working in a virtual environment. You do not have power over everybody. You can't get hold of somebody at the scruff of the neck and say, come here, sit down and get this work done. Oh, I can hear my team groaning.
See,
Right
we
now,
all
back at
volunteered for that bent
Yeah.
neck posture. No, I'm only kidding.
He wasn't scamming. The scam is if somebody takes your money and buggers off with it, and there are many cases that are recorded where people have gone off with lots and lots and lots of people's money, including the great bank scandal of about 4 years ago.
Yep.
Where somebody cleared off with about 75,000 US dollars, plus owing Linden Labs, da-di-da-di-da-di-da, right? That is a scam. That is intent to defraud. Or, at best, it is somebody losing their mind and thinking, I can't cope anymore, and pulling the plug out.
There's that too.
Yeah, there is that tempting. However, this product was being delivered. It has been delivered since this, and the nearer we got to delivery, the louder the screams of scam. Okay. And one has to ask oneself, actually, I'm going to step back from this, take the emotion out of it, which is, fine. Take the emotion out of it and look at it. Why are they screaming? Are these people competitors under an alt trying to do somebody down? Is that
That's what I was
wondered.
just thinking, yeah. That's what it does sound like.
It begins, you get the troll notion.
They must be really afraid of this product. It must be really fantastic.
Well,
and
and why
put
would
them out of business?
Yeah. Well, why do they say it's a scam anyway? I mean, if something's in development, unless they had to pay to invest to get it off the cutting board, then maybe I could see where they'd say it was a scam. Otherwise, how could they even say it was a scam?
Well, they
I'm
didn't have to pay to invest, but what they did do was buy pre-orders.
Oh, okay.
Now,
I
this
see.
is why I say things aren't perfect.
No, huh?
They bought pre-orders, but they had a choice. They didn't have to buy the pre-order.
Yeah.
And they say, right, okay, give me a refund. And that's where things go a bit awry. So the word scam comes out.
Always.
It's gone very quiet now because the product's being delivered.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
But in the meantime, that libel is out there in the chat logs all over Second Life.
Ugh.
Yeah, that is the greater issue, isn't it, in a way? Because this all it may not be, this all too often happens in environments where, like Second Life, especially where the organic typist or whatever behind the avatar isn't always obvious. People seem to think they're at liberty to say things and do things that they would not dream of doing in the real world.
Yeah.
Or if they did dream of it, they'd be very stupid people. And they'd end up with lawsuits. And somehow, when it's in Inworld chat or when it's on Skype or Inworld voice and things like that, people seem all too willing to stick their neck out in totally unreasonable behavior patterns, I guess, let's put it formally, which I'm sure they wouldn't dare do it. Well, most of them would not do in real life. And, it's allegations are allegations wherever they come. Libel's libel, slander's slander. I think possibly people are hiding behind the fact that they don't know, or it probably isn't being recorded. We live in an era where everything is being spied upon, but I think it's data flows. It's data flows that they're spying on rather than individual conversations. But it's people taking liberties, and it isn't saying I totally sympathise with Dousa. Not particularly. I know who she's talking about, but there've been other incidents here, where people, exploit you and they behave in ways that they just wouldn't behave in real life. They undertake to do something for you, then run off and exploit it themselves and things like this. And it's a forever, we get more cautious as the days and weeks go by. Is this person reliable? How long do we have to get to know them before we decide we can trust them? And are they professional or just pretending to be professional? And issues like this, and it really can be a dilemma. And it can be sickening what people get away with in here. I've got to admit.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there.
You just have to use your common sense the same way you do in real life. I mean,
no way. Well, you know what though?
it's the only defense.
It's kind of like that whole McDonald's thing. If you're not intelligent enough to know that the coffee that you're buying is hot, then You deserve to get burnt by it.
Right. That's one point of view.
You should not be allowed money if you're that silly. Right?
Good point. Good point.
Goodness sakes.
Anyway, so he brought me on to rant, basically. So rant over. Although, actually, I don't really see it as a rant. I do think it is a serious problem which is getting worse, and I suspect it's got worse, and forgive me for saying this, after a new generation of people had joined Second Life. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's the chance to,
I don't know. I
feel
see
their wings.
I
Feel
see
the
it
air beneath their wings.
I see it as the world in general. It used to be that you were held account for your actions more than you are nowadays. Nowadays, the only way that you seem to be held accountable for your actions is by being sued in court. Really.
And even that's a joke half the time.
And it is a joke.
Half the time. Yeah.
But, if you look at the children growing up now, I guess every generation says this, right? But you look at the children growing up now and you ask them to empathize with another person, for instance, and they have no clue. Like, don't you know how it made somebody feel when you said this, or this? And they go, huh?
No.
Yeah, they don't know.
I'll tell you what else, too. I've met second graders who have threatened to sue teachers.
That's crazy.
It's like,
you gotta wonder
wait
about
a minute.
the parental model in that particular case.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Because they're clearly picking up a message at home, and that's what their parents are teaching them.
Well, and everybody wants to get over on the system, and they talk about those kind of things in front of kids. And, when I was a child, my parents, I'm sure, didn't like paying income tax, for instance, either, but they certainly didn't say it in front of us to say, how can we find a way to cheat our income taxes this year? And people do that now. People do that in front of their kids now.
Yeah, they do. You're so right. Things have changed.
I think,
totally.
it's an old thing. Sort of just thinking back at, this is our sixth, we're now into the 7th year of this show non-stop. But when we started this show, the immersive worlds, immersive spaces, and places like Second Life here, where we're broadcasting from, were, I suppose, fairly cutting edge. We were pioneering, and we were mixing and conversing with people who were pioneers to a great extent. And it could always be argued that the inhabitants of people using virtual worlds are a microcosm of society as a whole. But I think at the beginning, that pioneering spirit was only reflected in, there was a sort of uniqueness to a lot of the people who were involved. And I think these days, as the worlds have expanded, in some ways they've contracted because some of the pioneers have moved on. But at the same time, the virtual worlds now are more of a microcosm of real society. So you can literally expect the whole gamut of everybody or have stumbled upon, or hopefully not stumbled upon in the real world, are probably present here in one form or another. So you have to deal with people just as you would in the real world. But that actually reiterates the point that that people should sort of, I don't want to sound too moralistic here, but people should just behave in here like they behave in the real world. They shouldn't use this as an
there's
excuse
the problem. There's the double-edged sword right there, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are acting like they would in real life. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you've really got two different. I can see about 3 different levels on this. First off, Mal, I would definitely agree with you that the people who were in Second Life 7 to 10 years ago are, quote, early adapters. They're probably more intelligent. They're probably more homogenous overall. They're more similar to each other than if you were to take a cross section of culture. And I'm sure that the incidence of the highly creative types was much higher as a percentage than it is now.
Very
so you've got all those things, and then you superimpose on that the fact that anonymity, and especially the anonymity of the web, gives a lot of people the sense of license to be able to say anything they damn well please.
I know.
It enables them to bully. It enables them to badmouth people on very superficial bases. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see all the places that people laugh at other people.
I know, it's crazy.
Because of a picture or whatever. It's bad behavior. It's bad manners.
Right.
It's not kind. It is not fair.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it's all
Yep.
left.
But you know what else is crazy about it is that people accept it. People accept it. I've just recently started on my own little personal campaign. This is really the truth. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, whatever. No matter what, I'm not mentioning names. But I will say this much: I have made it my mission when I find mean people that have managed to friend me one way or another, here, Facebook, whatever. Once those colors show, they are no longer my friend. Period.
Yeah.
I get rid of them. I'm done with them. I mute them. I ban them, and I don't ever take them back. Because once you see a person that's like that, you know they're going to be like that, forever. And I hate bullies. Hate bullies.
Dousa will tell you about this. I mean, I'm very much the same. I just mix and mingle, but I'll be in a conversation and I'll think somebody's time wasting and whatever, and I'm not rude or I don't even say anything half the time. I just tune out. If a conversation isn't engaging me or somebody's behaving in a way that's going off subject or something like that, it's just it's like real life. I'm not going to sit in a room meeting a load of people that are boring me shitless or annoying me. I'll just walk away. I'm not going to stand there and make a fuss. I'll just say, "Oh well, good night, all," and I'm off.
Yeah.
And I guess after a year in Second Life, that started happening, because after a while you think, well, it's not satisfying me to be what I perceive as wasting my time dealing with certain kinds of people. So I don't make a fuss about it. I don't get into a huge debate. I walk away.
I usually do too, but sometimes you have to get in their faces.
Yeah, I guess the question that raises
yeah.
in my mind is, if those of us who are, who attempt to apply some standards of decency,
right,
walk away consistently from those who are rude, disgusting, bullish, etc. How are those people going to learn that they are overstepping, that what they're doing is not okay?
Exactly.
I mean, it's
well, they know, though. I think they know, and I think that's part of their whole charge. Just like when kids were, think back to when you were a kid. Think about the bullies. The charge they got was your response.
Oh,
if you don't give them that response, it's just like
they go find somebody else. That is the best way to stop a bully. I've counseled many children about that. You just look through them, walk past them, don't respond in any way.
Yeah,
and they go away.
Yeah, certainly when you're speaking of bullies, and when you're speaking of trolls, those
same.
The online,
the kids. We're talking adults.
Incarnation. But at the same time, I think especially when you're talking about grown-ups with young people, I think we as grown-ups have some responsibility for telling kids that is not okay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it's the casual encounter. Yeah, turn your head, walk away, ignore it.
Yeah, you
mute
pick
them,
your battles. Yeah.
Defriend them, whatever. But I guess the question I always have is, what's the point at which I say, no more, versus, for example, an old friend of mine, an old online friend of mine who goes back 15 years now, and here some months ago, he was indulging in some tasteless and inappropriate bad-mouthing. And I finally had enough, and I said, that's not okay. That is not okay.
Right.
And I actually dropped him off of a couple of things. Well, but I kept kind of checking back just to kind of see what he was doing. Well, I noticed some change in his behavior.
Good.
Wait,
so, but it was a case of somebody I'd known for a long time, and I felt certainly in that case that he needed to hear it from me that he was what he was doing wasn't okay.
I did pretty much that same thing about maybe 2 weeks ago. A really close friend of mine went to a club that I was at, and the things that were discussed were totally inappropriate. Period. Okay, totally inappropriate. Second of all, totally inappropriate for that venue. There are venues where pretty much anything goes, but there are also venues that operate just like real life venues, which means, you behave like a human, pretty much. And I didn't accept it. I told this person that if they didn't apologize to the owner of the place, if I didn't hear from the owner that they had, we were done. Because I said I refuse to be a friend of someone who would do that. And fortunately, that person saw the error of their ways and decided that's exactly what they needed to do. I mean, it's not that I really wanted to unfriend the person. I really didn't, because, when you care about somebody, you do, whether or not they behave poorly or not, you still care, just like you would in real life. But by the same token, there is just exactly what you were saying, Tara, the not accepting poor behavior.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly.
And especially in this particular case, it was two-faced.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Okay.
a whole different subject.
I need to interrupt for a second. Okay, a couple of things all at once here, actually. Firstly, I'm looking at our monitor, and I'm seeing.
That was me. That'll go away. Sorry.
Right. Okay. We seem to be back. Had a slight
Sorry about
That was interesting.
I found an open window I
on-
thought I could close. I was wrong. Sorry.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's settled. Secondly, I think we're hoping we're going to be joined shortly by another old friend of the show, Joel Foner. He's logged in and now he's logged out again. So I'm asking him to come in and take his seat, and then we'll add him to the call. But the other thing I think to switch to right now, because time flies.
Yes.
Even when I am offline.
Yes, it
Even when I
does.
am offline.
Okay.
Secret.
Yes.
One of the reasons. This is actually quite funny in a way. One of the reasons I asked you to come on today is you've had this wonderful new exhibit open at the LEA, separate from your machinima work, really,
Yes.
called Commonalities.
I have.
And actually, as we were talking about the microcosm of the real world and things we have or haven't got in common, I suddenly realised, well, the title of your piece, Commonalities, says
What
quite a lot.
fortuitousness, right?
Yes, exactly. Sheer fortuitousness. But maybe while we're waiting for Joel, or before we move on, you'd like to tell us.
I'm ready whenever you're ready.
Yeah, you tell us a little bit about
Okay.
Commonalities.
I shall.
What it's trying to do. Yeah.
Okay. First, I do have two things I want to mention besides the comment out my piece, just because of the time issue, and I'll go ahead and sneak those in right here.
Oh, sure.
Okay. One of the things is MOMAC. MOMAC has a new theme this month. It's the short story theme. It can be any topic you want, just 2 minutes or under. So there's
Very
that.
good.
That's point one.
Yeah. And we're hoping, aren't we, that we might be able to broadcast this starting on the next next
That'd be
month's
awesome.
round too.
Oh, cool.
So
And second of all, I'm sure that everyone has heard of the 48-hour machinima project, and that has opened up for applications. And I'm not really sure how we add this, how we put links here. So I'll just read it out for you. It's the standard HTTP : / is that correct? www.48hourfilm.com /en/machinima/ and you'll get all the information that they have available at this time right there. Okay, now then, moving on. Now that I've covered those, all we hear, I'm just going to read to you what I gave out as information on my commonalities exhibit. And it says, all we hear about in the news today is the differences between countries, between cultures, between people, and how they make this world a difficult place in which to live. And it's true. We're not all the same. Not in geography, ethnicity, or lifestyles, but for all of our differences, we're still more alike than we're not. Therefore, I choose not to focus on those differences. Although some of the pieces in the show may not visually apply to everyone, the idea behind them likely does. Commonalities celebrates the things that make us a collective family, some joyous, some sad, some just normal, but everyday things. In all, they're part of being human and things to which we can all relate. So, it's over at LEA 6, and it should be pretty evident to everyone. They're not really big, deep subjects for the most part. Each one has got a little informational sign by it that you click for a note card that tells you any interactions, and most of them do have interactions, as well as any other info I thought you might want to know on them. And it was a lot of fun to build. Short, sweet,
Right,
to the point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it is very much a build of. It's a montage, isn't it? In the sense that you don't conceive it initially as a build in its own right. It's all the component parts. That
It has
you know,
chapters. Chapters maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And it covers everything, really. It covers so many things. It covers the fact that we all feel alone sometimes. It covers the fact that some things exist just because it makes our eyes happy. It covers jumping on the bed / monsters underneath your bed. It covers life after death. It covers so many things. Well, no, not so much, really. I mean, I think that's a pretty universal thing for most kids. Their mothers tell them don't jump on the bed, and that there's monsters under, and you think there's monsters underneath there. Well, that's explored a little bit. There's such even things such as internet love. Internet relationships. That's explored there. And I don't think it really matters what language you speak, because I think all these things are visually enough alike that whether or not you even spoke English, they would come across.
We're all saying the same stuff pretty much anyway.
Yeah. Well, just like they
Which
say,
is
a
the
smile is
commonality.
a smile is the same in any language.
That's right.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's
the research also tends to say that 70% of our communication is nonverbal.
I'd agree.
Of the message, it's only 30% is the words we use, and the 70% is body language and facial expression and all that kind of stuff.
Although there is one thing that is kind of outside of that. Okay, when you have a discussion or whatever online, like we're doing now, for instance, it's amazing, really, in a very short time of knowing someone, how you are able to read their mood, and they don't have to say, "Oh, I'm in such a bad mood today because such and such happened," but you still know.
Yeah, you can
I
tell.
would really love to be able to be part of a study that explores that. Wouldn't that be marvelous? That'd be like
in virtual relationships without the body language for the cues.
Yes.
Still pick vibes up off people in subtle ways. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but we're not doing it by scent. We're not doing it by touch. We're not doing it so much by sight. What we really have to rely on is words. But you somehow, when you know someone well, you still know. That's amazing to me.
I think, yeah. There's a lot. It's a mystery where a lot of the cues come from. I think a lot of it is the fact that as an art, expressionism is huge here. More than just symbolism. Where all the arts are here, but people use their avatars to some to mimic their real selves, others to be a complete fantasy figure. But the thing is that whatever's driving them in creating the avatar and how that avatar behaves is actually telling you a lot about the person. Often it's telling you more about the person than I don't know, the way they dress in a very conformist way in the real world. They let loose in the virtual world, so you're seeing more of the individual in the way they express themselves than maybe you would in real life.
I agree. And
I
agree with that.
These odd cues are actually coming in from somewhere. And there was a thing I came across on the web earlier in the week, which was asking the question, why do we smile and why do we clap? And it was interesting because there's virtually no culture on the planet, whatever their language or their other customs, like things like bowing and all sorts of things. There's almost no cultures that don't do those two things, smile and clap for some reason. So when you think about it, to the signal given off by a clap or a smile is huge, but you don't need language, and you don't even necessarily need any necessary other body language to go with it.
Okay, well,
you're able to communicate.
You know how sometimes this is going to be maybe difficult to explain, but I hope I can. Okay, let's say you meet two different individuals. Okay, and you have pretty much the same conversation with both of them. Same topic, same duration. Let's say the dynamics are the same, like it's a female conversation on both sides. Everything else being equal. And at the end of those conversations, one of those people you like, and one of those people you do not like. But yet you haven't had any physical clues, or not really a whole lot of visual clues why that can be. It's funny, huh?
I've read studies about the auras and the energy fields that do surround us, being as we're living, breathing energy people, energy. There's energy outside of what we can normally see, and they say people pick up on that stuff.
But how can they, though? You know what I mean?
You do, right?
I understand what you're saying totally. In a physical world,
it's a physical thing. It's not
and it's not. Yeah, and I think the it's not limited to actual physical location.
I know, it's amazing though, isn't it?
It isn't. Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
We've been taught that it is.
Right.
Something
If you took the brain out of the body, right? If you took the brain itself out of the body, you'd have something that didn't move, wasn't kinetic. It would just, you put the brain in the body and it works. Everything else. We don't exist in a physical sense in a virtual world or in virtuality on the internet, but our brains do, because we are communicating. Mm-hmm. We're communicating either by
such
sound
as they are,
or by silence.
Yes,
I think our silences much more important.
And even the timing of the silences. Yes, like if you ask somebody a question and they automatically don't answer, like it takes a click, 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 then the answer, it's like you already know it's not going to be good.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Laura and Mel will tell you I never shut up. Once I'm quiet for long periods of time, and then suddenly I'll carry on like this. And then I'll go silent again, and people will say, has your sound dropped? Has your sound? No, I'm thinking. It's taking me this amount of time to think. Mm-hmm. Because I can't put out this rush of words without having spent some time, a little bit of time, thinking in that.
Well, that's a plus. I mean, everybody would do that, but no.
I was going to say, I just blather on and find my way through it.
Right?
There's something that resonates here, Bill. As a personal thing, actually. Something that resonates to me, because I've had it all my life. I have a very animated face in real life. I'm not talking about my avatar. Sadly lacking there. Dousa probably knows this. She sees enough of me, and Tara's seen enough of me. But I've often found myself in situations where, I was talking earlier about if it doesn't interest me, I walk away, or if it doesn't interest me, I get very engaged. But I have been told that without opening my mouth, my facial expressions actually tell people a lot. I've got really an exaggerated frown, which means I'm disapproving of what I'm hearing.
My rolling eyes usually do it too.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I wish I could show you this animation. Sorry.
It's another one of these things where the words aren't necessary. It's like the avatar who. A lot of avatars wear AOs. I do now, but one guy will be standing there dancing around, prancing and posing to the extreme while he's actually talking, which isn't relevant to the conversation the avatar's having, but he just does it, and that tells you a lot about him. As also, if you're talking to an avatar who's just standing still, that hasn't got an AO on at all, that tells you also a little bit about that person behind that avatar. So all these are those invisible cues that they're a new language
they are
that we're picking up
That's
on.
what I was just thinking. Yeah, it's a whole new world.
It is. We have so many words that are our own. It makes sense that we have an actual language, real language that's our own. And it includes avatar language, avatar body language. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah,
I took a
right.
speech class once. It's always evolving. Excuse me.
Well, and of course, when you start talking about avatar, AOs, and that sort of presence or absence of same, then you start getting into some areas of are you coming to incorrect conclusions based on the presence or absence of a use of an AO? Mm-hmm. Especially if somebody is not using one. Is this a newer user who simply hasn't gotten to that level of subtlety in how they've transform their avatar into a personal statement.
Or is it an older user who just doesn't care anymore?
Exactly.
Well, or is it one who's uncomfortable with the actions of AOs?
Yeah.
Or hasn't found one. I mean, it was a long time before I finally found an AO that didn't make me feel like a slut.
Yeah, I know, right?
Or a hussy. I mean, it's just like when I first came into Second Life and started, looking around at clothes in the stores, and I swear to God, it seemed like every store I was in, the clothes looked like they were designed for hookers. Mm-hmm. Or 14-year-olds who want to let it all hang out. And I'm sorry, I'm not a 14-year-old, and I don't like to let it all hang out. There's too much of it.
I was going to say, not unless we're hanging upside down, right?
I just think we better change the subject, ladies, if you don't mind too much.
Yeah. But I guess the thing that I find really interesting is that I mean, if you're using voice, that adds a whole huge amount of information.
Yeah, it brings you back to reality. Words. It's so easy to be wrong.
But if you do, if it's just text, if it's if it's how the avatar moves around and text, then it's amazing to me how much and how accurate we can be about someone, and that moment to moment, somebody's in a bad mood, somebody's had a rotten day, even though they haven't said that.
Yes, exactly.
When it's somebody we know, how easy it is to pick those things up. It amazes me too. It has always been one of those things that
I have one friend on here that seems to be he's just nothing but psychic, I swear. He's known me now for probably around 3 years. I cannot even say anything. I cannot have even said anything to him that day. He always knows when it's been a bad day, and I don't have many. So it's really, I think Pet will back me up on this one. I'm pretty even-tempered. I'm a positive person. I'm a happy person.
Rolling down the river.
Exactly. But we all have a bad day now and then, and some people just know that. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's cool, though.
At the point now where my team see me as so bad-tempered that actually, if I'm in a good mood, they worry.
Oh, Dousa.
Yeah, they do. What? They worry that I'm planning something horrible.
Because you're thinking again. Because they caught you thinking. Dousa, you're reminding me of a very dear friend of mine who people didn't know how to take until they got to know him. Because he was just not. He would stop and think too, and he wouldn't say much. Oh, and when he did, it was always like hitting the nail on the head, or terribly funny, or generally right. I mean, and they would get to know him, and everything was okay. But it's true. Some people you don't know how to take. Because they're a little bit outside of your experience.
Robustus Hacks, who's my business partner and CEO of Metaverse, he and I met up in London a few years ago. And it was really, really interesting because I didn't know what he looked like. Yeah. As I know what certain people here look like, and I've met people, on camera, in my team, and stuff like that. There aren't many people who've met me, actually, I don't think. But it's safer that way. But Rob said to me, he felt much more relaxed with me after he met me because he...
Interesting.
Yeah, something about the way I talk or the irony that I use. I'm quite sardonic, and so people aren't quite sure where that fits. And it's a cross-cultural thing as well. And once he'd met me and he saw my body language, and he could read on my face whether I was being serious or not, if you like. He was much more relaxed with me, and he said that quite openly, which I found quite interesting. It doesn't change my delivery, sadly.
Sadly isn't the word I would use.
I think your delivery is just
I'd
fine.
say
I have no
thankfully
issue with it.
Like a breath of,
Yeah, I think nothing beats,
Fresher.
real world contact. If you're attuned to somebody in Second Life and it's possible, then meeting them, is, I think,
It's
great.
nice, yeah.
It's almost a bit like, back in the days before we had proper communications, there was this thing of the pen letter. People had pen friends, often from childhood,
yeah.
right
Pen
through
pals,
their
yeah.
lives. And there would be that rare occasion, maybe just once in a lifetime, or maybe not even that, hopefully once, when they did meet. And almost like, no introduction was necessary. You didn't even necessarily know what they looked like, what their character in real life came across like. It was just you'd been pen friends for so long that there was no barrier to overcome there, even if superficially at the beginning there might have been.
Yeah.
And I think we have something a bit like that here. Friends we meet.
You're right. Though I never really thought about this context. That's exactly what we have on here. That's exactly what we have on Facebook, and probably a lot of other sort of platforms as well. But pen friends, that's really kind of what it is.
It's also like meeting a DJ that you listen to for a long time, and then seeing them in the flesh.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre, but it works out, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, there's one other interesting thing I've noticed, especially with people, that my communication has been entirely in text. If I either have the opportunity to chat with them in voice or on camera or meet them in person, then if we're communicating in text, I hear their voice when I read what they've typed.
Oh, yes.
That's cool.
And it really alters.
I do
There's
the
a
same
subtle
thing.
alteration of how I hear their text.
I'm one
I do hear it.
of these people that I wonder, a lot of people at Second Life use text because there wasn't voice originally, and they didn't think to use Skype or whatever. And I'm one of these people that's appalling with text. I just, they come up to me and say, I don't do voice, and I say, I don't do text. But we try, and this for somebody at touch types, this may be a whole different ballgame, but I actually find that I can't be the same when I'm doing text. When I'm talking, there's a natural rhythm there. I'm responding. It's at a speed which I think as I talk, it's all about right. Whereas when I'm writing or doing text, so to speak, I have to think ahead of what I'm typing, and also the time taken to do the typing.
Yeah.
Means it's more constructive and less intuitive, less natural to me. So, and also, the speed at which it goes. I find, I'm one of these people that never made a spelling mistake in my life, let alone what they call a typo. But since using online chat rooms and things like Second Life, I've become appalling. I mean, my spelling mistakes are here, there, and everywhere. I type gobbledygook half the time because I'm racing to try and type on the keyboard far faster than I want to, just to get into the conversation. And I find it actually, I can be very misleading in text because I'm very curt, abrupt, and I often miss things out because I'll be there all night trying to type what I would just say in a couple of seconds. So it's there's obviously differences there. I take to voice, and that's empowers Second Life for me. Other people are still going at text because they think that's the best way to express themselves. So,
I've learned to give
like
directions. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's probably like people are quite happy to come on Skype or even on an old-fashioned phone call or in voice, but hate the idea of coming on video, where you actually see their face while they're talking. It's very, different preferences, I suppose.
Darling, I don't do it without a pink gel and makeup.
Yeah.
Very simple.
I don't do it at all anymore. I found it really, I don't mind if somebody wants to use their camera when they talk to me, but I just don't like using mine talking to them. It's not so much that I'm afraid to show who I am. It's just that you kind of forget it's on sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm doing anything nasty or anything, but it's just certain things that you don't want people watching you do, like blow your nose or pick your ears or something,
I keep forgetting the simple life to pick up the phone without putting any clothes on. I got to admit.
When you answer the telephone, you don't have to worry about that. But Skype, that's a different deal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think there is still a lot of resistance to using webcams. Yeah, it kind of interests me because you have I remember, oh gosh, 30 years ago when the first telephones with a with a screen,
view screen,
yeah, with the possibility of
It was
seeing
so
the person
Star
you're
Trek.
talking to. They never gained
Yeah.
any traction.
No.
It never went anywhere, and even now with people having cell phones everywhere, and your typical smartphone, it's real easy to do a face call. I wager that the number of people who use that feature is just a very small percentage of those who text and use voice only.
Mm. And well, they can serve bandwidth too, but yeah, no, I agree. I think people just, if I can talk to you, why do you need to see me? You know who I am, kind of thing. In some cases, and
I do know
but, when we started this show 6 years ago, just to put the plug in again, I remember being. I think I was very apprehensive about going on camera. I've got a feeling you might have been too, Tara.
Oh, very much, because it was totally me.
Yeah, but we got used to it. But more to the point, up until we started doing the live bit in World, which is actually less than a year ago, really. It would be Christmas will be the anniversary of the Inworld review. But the palaver I would go through to check that I was presentable. Well, I don't think I ever am much presentable on camera, really. But I'd be making sure I brush my hair back and sort of brush my teeth and done all the things to make myself vaguely manageable when I came on air every Sunday.
Yeah, from the neck up.
I don't have to worry about.
Please, Sarah, come on.
I don't have to worry about that stuff now, but it was quite a palaver. I suppose it's like TV makeup. People go into the dressing rooms, and they're in makeup half an hour before they go in front of camera.
I thought it was very nice that you guys did that. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not.
And I think, in all honesty, if live stream was behaving itself still, that we probably would not have made the shift, but it had gotten so unreliable for being able to do camera switches and bring people in and stuff that that was what finally pushed us over the brink, because we just could not. It was so often that stuff wasn't working and it would go sideways and both of us would have to relog. And, well, if we were lucky, Mal finally was maintaining a second machine logged into the studio that he could at least trigger videos with, so we could fill. But it just was. It had really gotten to that extreme. That
now that's dedication. Having two machines
even now
for that.
Even now I'm only three. I've got one for Second Life, I've got one for the studio, and I've got one for Skype.
Oh,
so it's a matter of working across them all. It couldn't easily be done, what we're doing at the moment, just using one,
so
or
much better
probably
to
two.
do it all on one machine.
Well, I like having lots. Each having a dedicated task, in hope that if one goes down, the other one's ready.
I'll be happy with dedicated screens. I'm getting ready to put a third one up.
I just can't do all that. I have one big screen.
Is easy.
I have one screen that's cool. I'm good with that.
But see, with three separate screens, you can share them separately. Sometimes I don't want to share all my screens. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So that's a plus. But anyway. What a show! This is a great show.
and exactly.
Especially,
and how. Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask Tara, and how it has changed basically over the 6 years. I think we've grown with it. The Inworld review actually has been. I'm glad we were pushed with it. We get a lot more traction now. We can put the Inworld review up separately on YouTube without requiring people to tune into the long extended afternoon channel, and we can have dialogue instead of monologue. That was another thing that we had dialogue on the webcam show, but it wasn't active. In other words, you'd say something, you'd give your thoughts, you switch cameras, and the person coming on camera would give their response. So there was a conversation there for sure, but there wasn't this natural dialogue that we have here, which I much prefer myself.
A little too natural today.
Yeah, well, I had no idea.
Au naturel.
You're lucky you're
I have-
dropping in and
See?
out now. Yeah.
See,
I have
this
no
is why
idea.
you should never invite me to the show, because I always degrade the
Oh
conversation
no,
somehow.
no, you weren't the only one. Or you
Oh,
don't
no,
even
no, you
try
have
it. No,
We
no,
have
no.
help.
Don't ever
realize
do
I'm
that to
actually-
yourself, secret, please.
You
That's
realise
not
I'm
true.
I didn't say it was an accident.
Oh,
You realise I am actually going to
Mal.
have to replay the show this week at the beginning just to
I
find
think
out
we
what
should-
the hell happened when I was absent.
I think we're gonna have to edit this show now. I'll edit. I want to edit my files out of the middle of it.
Oh right, I'll send.
I'm trying to
you a
turn it
copy-
over real fast for you.
I'll send you a copy of the proper intro as well, so we can post it with a proper intro for once.
All right.
It runs on the channel, but of course the replays it never goes up. I'm in too much of a hurry to put it up there. Okay, let's see. Tara, apart from any closing thoughts, anything else you might have on your mind? Have you got any closing thoughts for me on the 6-year experience of this show? Your memories, your putting you on the spot here. Your memories, your highlights,
Memories,
your
oh dear.
low points,
And a close up.
and
Zoom camera.
Zoom camera. Oh yes. Oh dear. You know, if someone had said something about this show would still be going 6 years ago when we started, I would have said in your dreams. Yeah, it's certainly come quite a distance in that period of time as far as just show content and of course we started off and it was Second Life Weekend Review because there wasn't OpenSim. There weren't all the other options for what would fall under the umbrella of Metaverse. Certainly the degree of sophistication that has occurred in machinima over that period of time is quite stunning.
Yeah.
One of the things that got me in that captured my attention fairly early on when I got into Second Life happened to be a machinima, and it was a machinima done, I'm sure, by some furry, but it was a furry it was a fox with a foxtail. And they were dancing around with their foxtail, and I was absolutely riveted by how the tail moved in sync with they're moving around and dancing. And of course, this was before I knew anything about what was going on under the hood. That you take an object and you make it flexy and do the right settings as far as wind and all that, and any object will behave that way. And so it was just kind of like this absolutely fabulous thing that somebody did, and of course, and that was 7 years ago, and so it's certainly been quite something to watch as the whole machinima production values and technical skills and everything have matured. Not to forget, of course, in Second Life, the degree to which there's been all this stuff that has enhanced what's possible. Not just mesh. That there have been other things that have come along in those intervening years that have enhanced how things look. All the wind light setting possibilities that give you lighting options, being able to use shadows is huge. Reflections, all those kinds of things. But certainly the low points have been shows that have gone seriously sideways for technical reasons, and I'm one of those that there's a certain point in those sorts of disasters where all I can do is sit here and laugh. I know there are moments when I can just hear Mal tearing his hair out and getting totally panicked, and there's a point at which I say, "Oh well," because I know that it's just that mindless machinery that in the background that sometimes decides it just wants to misbehave.
Gotta love a live show.
You gotta love a live show. Yeah,
And,
you just,
and we proved it today.
Yes, we did.
yeah. Today was a classic example
Today was a good
because
one.
I wasn't aware that you weren't there until I just, I happened to look and I said, "Wait a minute, where's Mel?"
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was nice
Yeah.
of you to pick up the ball, Terry. You did a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Mal keeps threatening to make me do the intro and run the show, and I keep telling him, "No, it's your show. It's your show." But every once in a while, it
Well, it's
ends
good
up
to
in-
be able to do it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's good to be able to do it when you need to.
oh yeah.
Darn right.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, I gather Dousa's connection is fading a bit. Are you still there, Dousa?
I'm still here, but I think I'm fading fast here. I'm running out of
Fading
mobile
fast.
bandwidth. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Any closing thoughts from you then before we wrap up?
I
Good
might
to have
have
you
a
again.
silence while I think. Um,
Okay.
I just think it's, I don't know about you. I really resonated with what Tara said, that if you had said 6 years later, because for me, 6 years has gone like that, really. It's gone in the blink of an eye, and I worry about that.
I know, right?
Scary.
Yeah, it's
I
all
worry
good,
about-
though. How much harm has it done? More good than harm,
Um,
don't you think?
I'm not going to sit down and count the harm, but I could sit down and count the friendship.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what I'm
Oh
talking
yes,
about.
yes,
More
yes.
good than harm.
Yes.
Way more, way more.
Yeah.
I'm going to go off before I crash off into the distance in a puff of smoke.
Good to see you.
Okay, well,
Yes,
it's
great to have you.
It's been so good to have you here again, and hopefully we can get a better connection and get you back real soon.
Good show, Mal. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving us all that extra airtime while you were struggling to go.
It's not often we get to exchange recipes online.
That's
Oh,
right.
Tara, I know you ran off and
Oh,
made a
that's-
refrigerator pie.
I haven't actually. I haven't today.
Wait, I
Although
think I
there
hear
may
my
be one-
microwave dinging.
Anyway,
It is really funny, the time passing thing. When Dousa said it just now, I suddenly thought that is very true for me too. I wasn't going to say it, but it's very true. That 6 years, in fact, the whole 7 years or something I've been in Second Life is just, it doesn't, that's a long, long time. And it doesn't feel like it in
Well, it's
some
the
ways.
same way for me.
I think 15 will be the benchmark. If we're sitting here after 15 years, then we'll have some serious questions to ask ourselves.
Well, I've
Yeah.
been in here a lot less than the rest of you. February 19th was just my 3 year, but I have spent an ungodly amount of time in here because that's it works with my real life. In real life, I'm a caretaker, so it's either this or TV for me, and so I have been
Oh,
here
right.
hook, line, and sinker for
Oh,
over
yeah.
3 years now.
TV's a nightmare.
No, I wouldn't. It would make me insane.
Yep.
And quite honestly, SL would also make me insane if I couldn't build.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I would already have been gone if it were just for the social factor, probably. Not that I don't enjoy being social, but you know what I'm saying. I would have grown bored with it if it was just that. For me, this is the most wonderful place because I can do creative things and visit with people all over the world, and it makes a big difference in my life, a huge difference. But the 3.5 years that I've been here, or a little better than that, have flown. Oh my goodness. Way
Yeah.
faster than any 3.5 year period I could think of previous to that. Really.
I must admit, I don't, Tara would vouch for this. We sometimes watch DVDs late at night and things, but I haven't really watched television at all
I
since
don't
Second
either.
Life.
Mm-mm.
It's, I guess originally it probably was similar hours, and but I was doing things. I wasn't consuming. I was participating, and I think that is the main of it. Tara, I actually agree with Tara that the technological strides that have been made just since when virtual worlds were new 6 years ago, still in their way, are great, and particularly we focus on playing so much machinima. And the quality now is such that it's often hard to choose what to pick to show. Whereas in the early days, I think we showed everything that turned up. It was that it's few and far between. But the other interesting thing I find now is that although the time has raced by, I actually spend less time in Second Life now than I did at earlier points. I suppose for the last couple of years, I spent less time in World, and it's not that I don't do as much in World. It's that I think it's just that I know the platform. It's so instinctive to me now to log in, teleport, do what I've got to do, wear something I've got to, unpack it if I've got to. I still haven't organised my inventory for about the last 5 years, but in principle, I know the rhythms to go through, and it is second nature to me. So I'll be on the web, I'll be doing news links all day, I'll be pursuing a whole load of other stuff. But to me, it is just a click of a button, and Linden Labs permitting, it's much quicker to get into OpenSim, to be honest, but it's reasonably quick to get into Second Life. When I'm here, I know exactly what to do. I come in for a purpose now, for an event or to meet people and stuff like that. I don't come in so idly anymore. I come in when I've got something to do. So it's not open for the sake of it. But I think that's a good thing too, because it means maybe it's just the fact that I'm experienced enough with it that it's second nature now. But I think as the metaverse matures, that is ultimately the objective we're actually striving for, where it is second nature to just click a button, pop in.
You could be watching like a tool.
Yeah, you could be watching this. You could be watching this program on the web right now, and there'd be a button that allowed you to TP and sit in the seats we got across on stage here, if you wanted to come to the audience. And someday, I hope it will be that intuitive. You'll just say, I'm not visiting a web page. I'm going to a location in the 3D web or 3D, whatever it is.
It's a sign of mental health too. I mean, if you did the same thing over and over again, it shows growth. So it's good. Sorry, Secret.
No, that's good. For me, though, I'm a builder. Whether it's art, whether it's a home decoration, no matter what it is, every day I build. Every single day. There's not a day I don't build, ever. And so for me, it's not the same thing every day. It's always something different. And so, and like I said, for me, leaving my home for very long periods of a time is not an option, period. So for me, Second Life is amazing. It's you're saying you got to where you're comfortable with it and everything. I don't think I'll ever be 100% comfortable with it, because I'm always pushing myself to learn more things, always, every day. So
I think there's nothing worse than boredom.
No.
If it had become boring for me, I just wouldn't be in here full stop. That'd be something better to do. But it's not boring. It's just you realize I can't build really in my life. I can actually produce more than a box, but if I work at it. But the thing is, it's easier now. I've done it enough times that there are certain routines I can do very quickly and get them over with. It doesn't stop me wanting to log in to go on the hunt or something like that, because that's a new adventure, if you see what I mean.
A good game, yeah. So you pick and choose your games, you come in for work. It's let me use my HUD here. It's a tool. Second Life can be like a microwave, something that has
make yourself have a life just like that.
It has, or it's part of your life, because it's intertwined with what you do. Spend a lot of time at.
Yeah, I was talking about the subject of the show that I have going right now. It's sort of the same sort of idea, I guess. I think all of us have that same need for a commonality. We're all in here for the same sort of purpose, really, in many ways. Where we come in to be social, we come in here to work, we come in here to create things. That's pretty much it right there. Those are the grand scope,
And I now don't hear Mal.
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. I was just chattering away with you, Secret.
Oh, goodness sakes. So you heard me? Did you hear me?
I heard
You said
you.
creative at the same time.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yes,
I
heard
could hear
Secret.
you. Everything got quiet there for a sudden. I was like,
Yeah, it's because
I
I
in a
shut up.
vacuum?
I shut up. but I
It's
didn't
like in a
really.
vacuum.
Yeah.
But we all kind of come in for the same sorts of things, and it has come. I think it's become for any of us that are more than just superficially involved in here. This has become a portion of our life.
Indeed, that's what I'm
You know,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, it really is that. You know.
Yeah, that's certainly how I experience it. It's it's very much part of my life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we don't come in and go to clubs and party and do inane things is good.
For those who do that, though, I do know some people. Now, on my Facebook, not everybody that I know there is a musician or an artist.
You're right.
But
You're right.
yeah, but there are I do know quite a few people that is their biggest thing is the social aspect, and very often that involves clubs and things on here, which I'm not going to dog, because when I first started on here, I did that too, but it was for a very short time until I learned I could actually build, and I was like, oh, what?
Shiny.
Oh my God, I'm never going to another club,
Well,
but
you'd be too busy.
yeah, but
you're
but,
right. The social aspect is equally valid. It's true.
Yeah.
We all have different needs, So,
Yep.
absolutely.
I'm the same kind of person that cannot watch television without doing something real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be
Rarely,
kind of a running joke that I could read and watch television at the same time.
Well, TV is like there's not much. You don't have to pay that much attention.
I'm just not a TV person. I gotta admit, I really have to. I hate to admit this in a way, but I don't even watch the news anymore. I really don't, unless we're having a storm here, and in Texas, where I am, we get tornadoes. So
good idea. To keep
if if the weather, then I would turn it on for the weather. But that's like self survival. That's not
right.
That's not.
Well, it's so easy. It's so easy to get whatever the news you need in in a few minutes with a few select websites.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
And follow the stuff you're interested in, and chances are considerably more depth than you'd ever get in a TV newscast.
Well, yeah, and I don't ever have to watch sports, which I'm really glad. I'm so not a sports person.
Yeah.
Or business. Pretty much business, too.
You don't watch CNN, MSNBC,
No.
Fear Channel?
I honestly don't even subscribe to a news feed on here, because here's the barometer. This is bad. Okay, on my Facebook, I have people from all over the world, literally all over the world. Every continent except for probably Antarctica. And I don't really care what happens there anyway.
Oh, listen.
So, I don't know anybody there, so I don't. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so I know people from all over. So as soon as something happens in one of the countries, automatically they share it on Facebook, like, oh my God, can you believe so-and-so just got elected? Or whatever the news happens to be, there it is. I don't even have to go looking for it. I figure if it's important, they'll mention it. Oh my God, I think we just muted again, didn't we?
I think perhaps we've lost Mal. Pat, why don't you go ahead and tell him to talk in chat, and we'll see if we hear him or not.
I don't think we have her on voice either.
But she's here.
Oh, I'm here. I'm here.
There you are.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I've been hearing everybody fine, but I do notice Mal seems to have dropped out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still seeing him.
Well, it's a good way to end the show the same way we started it.
Yeah. Oh, let's
Full
talk about
circle.
him. Let's talk about him. Now he's sitting here and he knows we're talking about him.
I'm going
doesn't
to
get
cam
his
away
final
from him in
word.
case he crashes.
Yeah, well, it's funny. His mouth's going. His chat bubble's active, but
Yeah, that's crash behavior.
yeah, it looks suspiciously like he's lost his Skype connection again.
Okay, well.
So I'm not sure, since he can't hear us, I bet.
He was
Unless
getting
he's-
to the final thoughts stage.
Yeah, he was getting to the final thought stage. I know, and so I'm just not sure how to do a wrap on this, since I'm not even in the studio, so I can't see what's going on.
It would be a sad way to end the 6-year anniversary show, too.
It really would be.
Yeah, we have to wait for Mal.
Yeah, we
So,
do. You know what? I was thinking about something earlier. You know how when we share websites on here, we don't have an absolute way of doing that at the moment, really, as we're speaking. I think the next time that I come on that I'm going to be sharing a website, I'm going to make myself a little texture that I can bring with me.
Sure, sure. Well, we tend to put them in chat.
Yeah.
In the on the website, but that's why we've, I think, all gotten into the habit of just kind of reading off URLs and hoping you can find one that's simple enough that somebody can follow it.
Yeah.
They're hearing it verbally. Well, Mal has said, go ahead and.
We missed his wrap up.
Mal just said he just did a 6-minute wrap and we didn't hear it.
Oh my goodness.
He's back! Yay!
He's back.
Welcome back, Mal.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Barely.
It's not very good.
Broadcast headphones. And
Okay, we'll
yes, I'm back on. I'm on an ordinary mic, I'm afraid. I unplugged my headphones and it all came back. So it must be a glitch in my USB headphones, I think. So I am back. I'd just like to do a quick wrap, actually. Thank you very much for being here, Vixen.
You're welcome.
And I hope to see you again soon. And I hope you get masses of people coming to see Commonalities.
Thank you.
It's indeed. Thanks, as always. She's on camera too, to Petlove Petshop. Thanks, Pez.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mal.
And they've already poofed, as we say in World, but thanks also to Saffia Widdershins and Dousa Dragonash for joining us. Hopefully they'll all be back with us soon. I'm not going to repeat what I was saying off air because I thought it was on air and I can't remember what it was, but we're going to
eat more chocolate now.
Yeah, we've got a load of stuff coming up on the show if you stay watching us live on Week in Review. We have an edition of Happy Hunting, of course, later on in the lifestyle bit. We also have the first bit of Robert Little, or whatever his name is, who has a rather annoying intro, one called Wonder. But he did some film of Second Life gets... it's basically a Second Life version of a real-world talent sort of contest. And I've gone and forgotten what it is. I had it on my screen a minute ago. Second Life. Anyway, that's coming from the lifestyle section. Yeah. Meanwhile, just to prove that Machinima's come a long way since the early days, we're going to play before the other clip starts a Machinima version of "People Are Strange" by The Doors. Wonderful song, all-time classic, and we played this endlessly as an intro in the very early days. Because it just showed lots of crazy avatars and, you know, the lyric, people are strange. They just went with it. Unfortunately, if you look at it now, you'll realize just how primitive it looks compared with Machinima these days. But it's such a wonderful song that I thought to celebrate the 6 years, we'd actually show it before we show anything else this week. So that's that's actually what's coming up next. And yes, I am back in the conversation. So thanks everybody for being here, and of course thanks to Tara. And I guess we're ready to wrap. Unless anybody's got anything else to say.
Come see
Nothing
Commonalities.
Here's to the next 6 years.
Oh
Yay,
yes, and congratulations,
Mazel tov.
by the way. Applause.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And sorry about the technical glitches today. We may have a slightly edited version by the time it gets to you up at YouTube for those watching in replay.
It might be in a couple of parts.
Yeah, if you want to see the full unedited version, just come back to live stream. It's replaying for next month, so you can.
In all its glitchy glory.
If you're going to play the unedited version, then I'll skip it.
You can endure it. You can endure it for the next 4 weeks, anytime. Okay, well, I'm going to call it a wrap, and I'm going to get ready to cue People Are Strange, and we'll see you same time, same place next week, I hope, and hopefully with less glitches, and 1 week into our 7th year.
All right.
We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Not yet, V.